All right. So hi, everyone, and welcome to this Explore MedTech seminar with the MedTech Talent Accelerator. Today's topic is transforming human connectedness through textile computing. And we have our speaker here, Dr. Bastian Moigno from Mind. Also we'll have other colleagues of Dr. Moigno participating in this session. We have an exciting event for you here where we'll have a presentation from Bastian and then a tour of Mind and a conversation with a couple of their Mind colleagues about their roles at Mind. So with that, I just want to start with a land acknowledgement. As you're aware, that Toronto is in the dish with one spoon territory. The dish with one spoon is a treaty between the Anishinaabe, Mississaugas, and the Haudenosaunee that bound them to share the territory and protect the land. Subsequent Indigenous nations and peoples, Europeans, and all newcomers have been invited into this treaty in the spirit of peace, friendship, and respect. So with that, I want to, again, as I described to you the agenda, so I will go through a little bit of a overview of what the MedTech Talent Accelerator is, and then I'll pass it on to Bastian to start the seminar. And then at the end, please hold your questions till the end, and we will have a Q&A with Bastian at the end where you can ask him any questions you'd like. So at the moment, what I'd like you to do is, if you can in the chat function, please, if you can indicate, what is the program you are in, and then what year you're in, and also which university you're in. I didn't put that here, but please, if you can indicate that in the chat function, I would really appreciate it. Just so that we know who's in the audience today. So with that, I just want to get into what the MedTech Talent Accelerator is. So we're a co-curricular program that's offered at Ryerson and McGill. The goal of our program is to launch the next generation of industry-ready talent for the Canadian MedTech sector. We do this through these two blue bubbles that you see here. So we run these ExploreMedTech seminars to give you a better understanding of what the industry is about, and leaders like Bastian and companies like Mind are kind enough to provide those insights to students, so to give you some guidance as you consider a career in the industry. We also host a hackathon. We are planning to host our next one in August, and we are in the middle of figuring out a challenge for that. So that is upcoming in August, and you as a grad student at Ryerson or McGill would be eligible to participate. And then the second component of our program is we run this placement program. It's called ExploreMedTech, and Mind is a great partner here with us as well, where our students get placed in Mind for internships. So here, this ExploreMedTech program, we actually are in the middle of our call for applications from students. So just want to flag that for you. For if you're looking to be placed in an internship for September, January 2022 or May 2022, we're looking for you to apply to us by the end of this May, if you're a graduate student in your final year at McGill or Ryerson. So just wanting to flag that. So in essence, what I just want to share is, our goal with this program is really we want to transition you from being a student in a discipline at Ryerson or McGill, and really transition you to being, starting your careers in the MedTech industry is the goal of our program. So with that, without further ado, then, I want to introduce Bastian. Bastian, after obtaining his physiotherapy diploma in 2010, Bastian completed his PhD degree in Grenoble Alpes University in France in 2014. During this time, he worked as a physiotherapist at the Grenoble Alpes University Hospital. These initial phases of his career developed his understanding of patients' challenges and needs when facing impaired motor function. In Feb 2019, Bastian joined Mind as a MyTax postdoctoral fellow. He's since become a full-time employee and is the R&D lead and rehabilitation specialist since September 2020, where he supervises device development at various technology readiness levels and coordinates the clinical trials for Mind's skin products. So with this, Bastian, please, the floor is yours. I'll stop sharing and I'll request you to share your slide, and I can just confirm that I can see it, and then I'll go off video. Awesome. So if you just
Hello, everyone. All right, so let's put that in full screen. All right. So today I'm going to try to present to you the type of exciting things we are doing here at Myant, and also highlight in particular the type of talents that contributes to what we are doing here at Myant in Toronto. So we're trying to connect people, and we're trying to do that using a technology that we call textile computing. So Myant is an end-to-end company, meaning that we have a combination of a great diversity of talents and a great diversity of activities. So textile is at the center of that, but we approach this from an R&D perspective, where we do a lot of prototyping and early testing and the like. We are expert in fiber, yarns, textile, materials, also a lot of experts in data science to make sense of the data we collect. A lot of people working in engineering and design, both from a fashion perspective and from electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, and the like. We have assembly, production, shipping specialists that contributes to Myant. And we go from rapid prototyping for our products or other companies' products, all the way to production and commercialization. So what is the type of disciplines that contribute to that? As I said, some people with heavy industrial experience and manufacturing, but also people in fashion, textile design, people who know a lot about the machines that perform the knitting, the weaving, the embroidery, and obviously a lot of engineers, electrical, mechanical, chemicals and materials, firmware and software, signal processing, and data science. So we need every one of these people for the product that we are making to be efficient, but also fashionable, attractive, and doing the job we are aiming for them to do. So using some big words, we're trying to digitize the physiological system. So for this, we approach the human body through different angles, from biomechanics, biochemistry, electrophysiology, and also hemodynamics. So with those few little buzzwords, what does that mean is that we are designing prototypes and then products that try to capture those different aspects of a physiological system. And you can see on the right that we've been working with headbands, shirts, sleeves, pregnancy bands, underwears, knee sleeves, sanitary pads, floor mats, and whole body suits. So to go into a little bit of details and illustration of what does that look like, electrophysiology has been one of the earliest things that Myant has been working on. So electrophysiology is capturing electrical signal from the human body. And the first of them is obviously ECG, which helps us understand what's going on with the heart, not only heart rate, but also other aspects of the heart's electrical activity. We also, at an earlier stage, working on electroencephalography, EEG, as well as EMG, which you will see some snippets later. So this is the skin biometric garments. So this is the flagship of Myant. This is where a lot of efforts are going right now. And as you can see, all of those garments share the same small electronics. So you can imagine the amount of engineering, both electrical, mechanical, and software and firmware that goes into designing those small electronics and connect that through Bluetooth to mobile devices. And obviously to make those garments, to make them well fitted, to make them wash resistant, comfortable, and obviously able to capture the ECG. There's a lot of work that goes into that, lots of iterations. And that's the result of the work of a lot of people. So what are we doing with this system? So the textile computing platform is about using wearable garments that are comfortable, well-fitted, and that do not intrude into people's normal activities functionalize them by putting in them electrodes and electronics, and connect them wirelessly to mobile devices. Most of the time it's going to be smartphone, but not only that. And those mobile devices upload the information to a cloud, to a data center that can then be used by clinicians, caregiver, coaches, families, depending on the context, for them to have access to the data that the user wants to share. So what does that look like? Those are some actually earliest version of a skin app that has now gone through like a bunch of new iteration. But generally speaking, the idea is that the person selects the type of people they want to share data with. And there's those kind of interfaces that allows you to connect with the people you love or the people you care for or both. And share certain information such as what has been their activity, how's their heart rate, have they been sleeping well, etc., etc. So why are we doing all of this? So one of the reasons we do this is that we want to be part of a change in healthcare. So we want to help the transition between treatment to prevention. We want to capture a signal that can inform us before the health degrades to a point where you need more medications and things like that. We want to help people receive care at home instead of the hospital, both for connectedness reason, isolation, but also for a matter of costs, which matters in our society. And we also want to help making the healthcare less standardized, but more personalized, because each person have a lot of individual factors that can affect what care they need. And also we want to transition from a focused healthcare to holistic, meaning that it's not we care for one disease at a time, but more we consider the entire range of data that can be considered, from breathing, the heart, the brain, the muscle, the activity, the emotions, etc. So more illustration of the cool things that we are doing here at Mind. So we are working on a 12-lead ECG using textile electrodes. So we are, again, prototyping with a textile, with electronics. We design our own firmware and software to analyze the data. So that's one example here. We publish our result whenever we can in order to gain, visibility and gain trust from people, from medical experts, and also from institutions. And we also do other type of prototyping. So at the beginning, it doesn't always look good, but it's the stage of developing technology, of going from rougher prototypes to more sleeker prototypes. So here it's a system that captures synchronously multiple signal from ECG, EEG, EOG, GSR, you name it. So that the intention is really to explore further more complex dimensions such as stress and emotions and concentration, fatigue. So really trying to create those tools that expand our understanding of what's going on in the human body. Some aspect of our work obviously is to process the data we collect. So for example, with the skin underwear, we have accelerometers that helps us analyze posture and activity, such as position in bed. So from that, you can analyze, sleep quality. Are you tossing and turning in your bed, or are you more like more static and having a restful night? Are you spending time in the day more sitting or more standing? Are you walking? How many steps are you walking? At what speed are you walking or running? All those are information that are important to understand the person's overall physical activity or absence of physical activity, which we know are important factors in somebody's overall health. So obviously, we use data processing tools, statistical analysis, and also all the way to machine learning. I'm not going to use the word AI, but we also do explore those. A few more snippets of the type of technology we work on at Myant in the realm of biomechanics. We have a pressure sensing technology that uses textile as well. So we've been implementing that in shoes, in mats, in sleeves. And the application of this type of technology are really broad. And we're very excited to work with a lot of companies who like to expand their own offer. And so yeah, you should be able to see more in the months and year to come. Some really neat technology that we've worked in the past is using EMG to recognize certain movement pattern and try to contribute in the realm of robotics and assistive technology. So that's an illustration of our type of electrophysiology. And finally, something that combines electrophysiology and biomechanics was our work on functional electrical stimulation by yours truly. And what we've been working on is really doing some early proof of concept of using textile instead of gel electrode to deliver stimulation to people who have paralyzed or weak muscles in order to regain or retrain function and help people regain, grasping motion, reaching motion, getting stronger, gaining endurance, etc. And finally, because we are in the business of the medical device, we need to work with clinics, hospitals, universities to demonstrate that what we are building actually works, and when compared to a gold standard device, provides a result that are trustworthy, and also that there can be interventions using our system that have measurable benefits. So I will stop here for now, and I will see you soon for question and answer. Right now, we are going to have a tour. Stop share. And I will hand things over to Hannah Fong. Hannah is our Director of Marketing, and she will tell you more. Hannah, all yours.
Okay. Can everybody hear me? Okay, yes. Wonderful. My name is Hannah. I'm the Director of Marketing here at Myant. So just to give you, I'll give you a brief introduction for me. My background is actually in engineering. I did my undergrad at U of T in nanoengineering, then did a master's in photonics, also at U of T. And then I figured out that I didn't want to be an engineer. I'm gonna leave that to Bastian and to do all the science. But I found a way to get back to a really cool company here. So I am the Director of Marketing here. There are tons of different types of people here at the company in all the different disciplines, as Bastian mentioned before. So what I'll do today is kind of give you guys a tour of the facility. And when you go through, you'll be able to see all these different types of people working together, not only to work on the fundamental science and the technology itself, but turning that into a product that is designed for a user to solve a need, but also, manufacturing of that product as well. So, that rarely happens in any organization anywhere. If you think about big organizations that, try to do, innovative stuff, they do parts of it. They don't do it end to end. And for the kind of innovation that we're trying to do here, it was too hard to get everybody, like all the different disciplines from different parts of the world, just to speak together. So, you know, when the company was founded, they brought everyone under one roof so that innovation can happen faster. And that's how, you know, people like Bastian are able to not only, you know, come up with these ideas and test them, but actually, you know, come back and rapidly, you know, create prototypes because they can be knitted right in the back in our factory. And then also, you know, get that back and close, you know, have that iterative process go a lot faster so innovation can actually happen. So I'll take you on a little tour. So just give me 1 second. I'm just going to set up and we will go for a little walk and speak to a few people as well who can tell you about life at Mind. Just give me 1 second here. Okay. So, can you guys see me? Okay, I think that's good. All right, so I'm going to switch this camera around. Let me see if I can do that. Oh, there we go. So I am in our showroom right now, and our showroom really is a space where we really try to show, you know, all the different possibilities with textile computing. I mean, you've seen some of these garments here that Bastian has referenced in our presentation. You know, these are kind of like the most like polished articulations of the vision of textile computing. So these are the actual garments that Bastian has mentioned. So you can take a look there, but you know, it goes far beyond that. You know, the applications are very wide. You know, we've got a whole bunch of different types of applications. Mostly it's innerwear, so things that sit next to the skin, because if we think about textile as a bidirectional interface to the human body, you want to be close to the body itself to collect that data. But there's lots of different options. You've got base layers here that can both you know, potentially sense what's going on in the body, you know, biomechanically, electrophysiologically, but also deliver information or stimuli back to the body, as Bastian had mentioned. So some of these will deliver heat, for example. And the difference between this type of technology and a lot of the stuff that's out there on the market is, of course, the magic is we knit the sensors, you know, the electrodes, and let's say, you know, the heating elements in this case, directly into the garment itself. So they are yarns. These garments feel like everyday clothes. So, you know, if you buy a base layer from like Helly Hansen, or if you buy a base layer from Under Armour, whoever it is, you know, these are the same types of materials. So there's no wires. And that's very important because especially with, you know, our applications here in terms of biometrics, you know, a lot of the applications, the initial applications anyways, are for, let's say, you know, people like the elderly who could really benefit from patient monitoring, but, you know, they don't want to use technology. So if you bake it directly into the garments themselves, then you have, you know, addressed one of the key barriers to adoption. So I'm going to take you through, you know, our space here. We are going into the main hallway here. This is the main lobby of Mind. You know, we've got a lot of stuff going on in here, but this display here kind of shows you the breadth of kind of stuff we do. So our innovation starts, you know, at the fiber and yarn level. So we have like, you know, textile scientists or yarn scientists who can are functionalizing those materials at that level. And, you know, that obviously is integrated into a textile itself. So you see many past iterations of the types of connections or electrodes that might be knitted into textile. Of course, you need electronics to kind of process all the, or collect and process all that information. You have mechanical integration of these electrical parts into the garment itself. And then you've got to actually make that useful, you know, product design. How do we create it? How do we package all of this in a way to solve a problem for users? So that kind of gives you a sense of, you know, the entire process. Here, we're standing in the main hallway leading to the main room where our engineers and our designers and our scientists sit. We've got a little timeline on the wall here that kind of goes through the history of the company. This was a display that we had at Consumer Electronics Show, CES, if anyone knows that. It's the biggest consumer electronics show from a few years ago. And we basically kind of, I won't go into great detail about exactly what's there, but you'll recognize some of those pictures, you know, with Dr. Monod, you know, working on the functional electrical stimulation garments. But you can see the kind of the process or the developments that need to be made as things get, the innovation gets, you know, iterative and it's improves and improves. So I won't go into great detail here, but it's a nice visual. So we're going to go into this main space here. In this space, and it's kind of loud here, so I apologize in advance. I'm going to kind of do a quick scan here. You can see you've got some mannequins here because this is where our textile designers sit on this side. But if you look on this side, you've got engineers, you've got scientists here working as well. And it's a really wild space to be in. And, you know, at the end of the day, it's, you know, these people have to work together to kind of make that happen. So what I'm going to do at this point is I've pulled aside two people here, which you guys can get on the side over here. So we're going to do a quick kind of a few-minute interview. I'm going to start over here. So we're going to introduce ourselves. Just give me 1 second. I'm going to take myself off headphones so that we can hear you. Hold on. Okay, can you still hear everybody?
Yes.
Okay, so I want you to introduce yourself and tell me a little bit about your educational background and what you do here and what's great about Maya.
Okay, hello all, I'm Farah Nafi. So I studied biomedical engineering at Ryerson as a bachelor, and I did my master's in electrical engineering also at Ryerson. And then I went through the MedTech program and I ended up having an internship at Mayans, and this opened an opportunity for me to work here. And I do a lot of cool things. I do data analysis, algorithm development, testing of textiles. So yeah, I love working here. I feel like what we're doing will actually improve the quality of life for people. So yeah.
And we've got one more here.
So my name is Gordon Gray. I'm also a biomedical engineer. I actually studied at Ryerson with Farah. Previously, before that, I did a biology degree at McMaster University. I've been at mine for about almost 2 years now. In R&D, I do a little bit of everything from electronics design, as well as textile design, testing, biomedical testing, PPG, ECG, EEG, EMG, and I've been involved in a lot of data processing and signal analysis and data analysis as well.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, guys. And so hopefully that gives you guys a sense of, you know, the types of people that work here. You know, hopefully you can start to see that someone like yourself has an opportunity to be working here as well. So I'm going to continue this tour. Just give me a second while I put myself back on a headphones so it's easier. Okay, can everyone still hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Hannah, your video is off.
Yep, just give me 1 second. I'm just turning it back on. There we go. Okay. So we're going to continue this tour. Again, you know, we've talked about how you can see there's textile designers here. And, you know, these people come from textile backgrounds, you know, kind of like at Ryerson. You know, at Ryerson, they've got a fashion design program. So, you know, we've got people, I think, that come from that program. We've got some engineers that sit here. But I want to show you over here on this side. And there's a lot of stuff going on right now. They're kind of repairing the machine, but all the way in the back, and I'm not going to go all the way back there. There's a treadmill back there. You know, partly because, you know, as Bastian mentioned, you know, we do all of our testing here as well. So, you know, we got to make sure that these things actually work and, you know, with humans doing human things. So that's a part of the testing process. So I'm going to take you out to the back as well. So excuse the appearance, but I'm going to walk through the facility here. We also do have, as Bastian mentioned before, there's product designers or product people here. There are, let's say, there are scientists, knitting people, textile developers. There are data science people, firmware people. So they all work under one roof. And product itself needs to be manufactured. So we're on the manufacturing floor here now. So what you're looking at is these are 3D robotic knitting machines. So if you want to buy, let's say, if it's like a shirt from Nike, they go to a factory out in the Far East that has 3D robotic knitting machines, just like these ones. And we've got, you can't even count how many we have here. I can't really give you a scale of it, but we've got like rows and rows and rows of 3D robotic knitting machines here. And these people are like knitting experts. So they've, we bring them actually, we bring them from wherever we can find them. Usually they are coming from the places where textiles are typically made these days, which are in the Far East, but they have very specialized skills. So we are trying to work on developing the talent pipeline to kind of bring that expertise back to Canada and really help bring the culture of making back to Canada. So you can see here, this is a 3D robotic knitting machine. This is full of, so this is a giant robot that knits your clothes, which I always think is super fascinating. And, this is what it takes to really do innovation. You've got all these different parts that have to play a role. And, the things that we do, the wonderful things that we do here at Mayans are not possible unless we bring all these people under one roof. And it's really having all those different disciplines and talents that make it all happen. So that is, the gist of, the factory tour or the facility tour. I don't want to, I guess there's more that we can show you, but it's less visually appealing, where our data scientists sit. But with that, I'm gonna just turn it back to Bastian so that we can take any questions.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Hannah. That was a great tour that you gave, and I hope that our audience enjoyed it. It's funny, it almost looks more impressive when you see it on a Zoom meeting, because now I'm so used to this machine, but seeing it in this presentation, it's like, oh my God, that's right. We have dozens of robots. All right, so I think that's when our Q&A starts. We have a lot of time left, which is, as you've noticed, we both tried to speak fairly fast because we don't want to make it boring. But yeah, any question? I think we can start.
Awesome. So thank you so much. That was very exciting. Really appreciate, Bastian, the presentation, as well as Hannah. It was very insightful to actually see where the work happens and the fabulous facility Mayan has. So thank you so much for sharing that with us today. So I'll be fielding the questions. So I'll be asking you the question, Bastian and Hannah, and if there are, which either of you could respond to those as you see fit. And just for the students, please, there's two options for the Q&A. If you'd like, you can put it in the chat function so that I can read it out. If you'd like to ask your question yourself, so just raise, there's an emoticon through which you can raise your hand, and I can name you, and you can then unmute yourself and ask your question directly with our guests. So those two options are available. So with that, I believe there is a question already in our chat function. So let's see what that is. So within your line of devices, are there any devices that could medically intervene when the patient's health is at risk? So the example the person gives is after detecting a heart attack or a cardiac arrest, or inject epinephrine when asthma attacks are detected. So thoughts on that?
Yeah, so the answer is yes. We are working in that particular example, the first point that you bring Salvador, thank you. We are working with a company that has existing experience in this type of intervention, and we are helping them making their system more comfortable, more performant, to increase acceptability for those life-saving equipment, because just because you need to wear something to protect your life, if it's uncomfortable, that decreases your quality of life. So we're working together with them. I'm not allowed to get into detail as to who it is exactly, but the answer is yes.
Thank you for that. And then just a bit more about the wearables. So is it battery powered, the electronics, or have you looked at harvesting thermal energy as an energy source here?
Yeah, the devices that we are launching on the market right now are battery powered. So we're using the same sort of like high performance miniature batteries that fits in those small electronics. Energy harvesting, I would say, is on the long-term roadmap, but nothing specific right now. We are taking on a lot of topics, and this one is going to have to wait a bit.
Again, just want to ask for everyone, if you have a question that you'd like to ask yourself, please raise your hand through Zoom, or you can put it in the chat function with that as well. So just, as we're waiting, I can ask my own questions. So give me a sense, again, with students here thinking about careers and where they're headed, for both of you, I'd love your response on it. And I ask this for most of our guests so that, we get some insights on what you would share. So if you could kind of give advice to your younger self, as you're in university, what would you kind of want to share with yourselves to better prepare yourself for the careers you're in or the career trajectory you're heading in? So maybe Hannah, we could start with you.
Sure. My career has been non-linear. As I mentioned before I started in engineering, I went into marketing, but really on the analytical side of marketing to leverage my analytical skills, and then more broadly into strategic stuff, and now into this role here. I have kind of probably two things to say. One is, however you think your career might progress right now from where you're sitting, it's great to have dreams and it's great to have a vision, but be open to possibilities, right? Because I think often when we think about our careers, we think about what it is that we want to achieve, but the experience that we don't have yet is, what is everyday life at work going to be like? What am I actually going to be doing? What are the challenges? And I think as we experience those things, our thoughts on what we actually want to do actually change. So you have to be open to possibilities. I think that's one. And I think the second one, I would say, I had it in my mind. It slipped my mind right now. But that first part to me is really important. It's just being, I know what the second one was. It's funny because I ended up in this role. People think, I need to build up, my publications. I need to build up, all this experience and work at the right places. That stuff is great. But, I didn't believe this when I was young. But I think it's really important. It's, maintain relationships. If you look at your peers right now, they may be your friends. One day they might be your colleagues, but you never know who they are and where they might go. And if you have a genuine interest in, being, staying close to, people that you've worked with or people that and contribute value to each other's careers, doors open for you. And for me, that's how, I kind of walk backwards into this role. Our VP of R&D, who works very closely with Bastian, was a friend of mine who I worked with in a previous role in marketing. And he went back to do his PhD. and now he's the VP R&D here at Myant. So, you know, I hate to use the word networking because it's a scary word for a lot of people, especially the people, I would say, in the sciences and engineering. You know, a lot of us, I remember when I was doing my master's in photonics, you know, I didn't know what the word meant. I'm not sure how to do it. But really, I think I want to encourage young people to say, like, stay friends with the people that you've worked with. Like, that's just a natural human thing, and help each other out. And doors, you know, can open and seem to open when you do that.
Thank you so much for sharing those insights, Hannah. I really appreciate it. And Bastian?
Yeah, I think Hannah hits a lot of very relevant point, and I'm just gonna develop on those. Is yes, don't narrow your options, seize opportunities whenever, even if it's a bit weird. If you're never gonna work on what constituted your capstone project or your master thesis or your PhD thesis, right? I've worked with, I've done most of my master and PhD with people with amputation. It's not a topic I've really touched on in almost 10 years now. So that's fine. And to the second point that Hannah brought, yes, be remembered as a kind and intelligent working person, and you'll get that email, that phone call, maybe at a moment you don't expect. Don't burn any bridge. You don't have to be best friend with anyone, but don't underestimate the power of helping out that person above you or below you in that lab, in that course, in that project. Because one day someone is going to say, hey, we've got this candidacy from whatever's your name, and I've seen that you were in the same program or something. It's like, what do you think about them? And that's going to be an impact. And if you left a wrong impression, well, you won't get the same answer by email. And it actually happened a bunch of time where I went actually to Gordon. It's like, hey, we've got this candidacy. Like, what do you think about this guy? And the answer was like, yeah, he's a bit of a know-it-all and, you know, kind of difficult to work with. And like, you know what? Yeah, I don't have the time for that. And whoop, so yeah, that's something. Be kind, help people whenever you can, and it will pay back in unexpected ways.
Yes, thank you, Bastian, also for sharing those insights. And, you know, I think one thing I also heard from you, Hannah, as well, is, and Bastian, is, you know, just want to highlight that, you know, like your careers usually are not linear. So you can't see yourself as, you know, going from entry level to up, you know, that kind of mentality needs to be kind of challenged a little as young people, so that, you know, you need to first, you know, get in and really gain multiple experiences in a diverse set of environments, and that really helps you build further and grow in your career. So we're back to some technical question. There's a really neat one here around, and, you know, it's a practical one. So there's a question about washing. So you have these sensors and that are in your like clothing. So how does washing work in terms of laundry or things like that?
Washing tests are the least favorite test that we have to do. It's very daunting, very repetitive, but it's something we have to do. We go up to 50 washes for our garments, and we test performance along the way to assess the resistance, the performance, and if they break down or whatnot, we have to do the diagnostic of what happened. So yeah, essentially the objective is for those garments to be machine washable with, you know, regular temperature, regular detergent, regular machines. And yeah, so that's an essential part of the development, is to choose materials and integration techniques and shapes that will sustain friction, erosion, corrosion, etc.
So if I may add on that too, and Bastian gave a very great technical description of that. I think fundamentally and philosophically speaking, the magic of what we do is that this is an everyday object in your life. So it needs, as from a product perspective, it needs to serve the needs of an article of clothing. So if you can't wash it, that's an issue. So fundamentally speaking, this has been, obviously a huge area of focus. A lot of work has gone into it. This garment, so if you go to skin.com and you buy it, it comes in the mail, you can put it on. Yes, you need to take the electronics out before you wash it. You don't want to wash that officially. I can't talk unofficially, but the garment itself, it's like machine wash, cold, tumble, dry, low, which is probably better than a lot of your high-end garments, which you need to treat like it's a baby, right? So don't put your baby in the washing machine, but you put these garments in the washing machine, and it's tumble, dry, low. So it needs to fit in a person's life. So we've designed it in that way and developed the technology to that end.
Awesome. And then Bastian, you were showing something on camera. Do you want to describe that a little bit? What is that?
Yeah, so basically this is the result of years of hardware and firmware and mechanical design. So this is the skin pod for our generation 1 of skin biometrics, which captures 3 channels of ECG, has 3 accelerometers inside, and has a temperature sensor to estimate the body temperature. So it's all encompassed in one thing. Obviously, there's a Bluetooth to transmit the data to a system. And this went through a lot of iterations, a lot of optimization. And I just saw a question in the chat that I'm going to hop on now regarding Health Canada. So the ISO process, Health Canada process, and subsequently FDA process are huge step in a company's journey. So we've already done the ISO 9001, which is about general quality of manufacturing. We are in the process of ISO 13485, 13485, which is for a medical device. And we've been recommended for approval. I'm not sure it's live, official yet. And we are in the process of obtaining Health Canada approval for these electronics and the garments that go with it as a class 2 medical device that has the ability to collect ECG and other metrics. So I guess in terms of why is this relevant to you? Because that's the point here. All the courses that you take about documentation, about norms and tests and things like that, all those are very relevant. If you want to work in the MedTech sector, you need to be familiar with those and really come up with, basically, you're going to do quality work. You're going to pay attention to detail. You know how to create a procedure. You know how to follow a procedure. And because you're going to contribute to something that's going to be considered a medical device, and there's going to be eventually a medical care decision made based on that. So the quality expectation is really high. And it's been a big journey from my end to reach to that level and to grow a company culture from a startup to a medical device company. And yeah, be ready to keep learning more and more and be trained to be better at your job.
Thank you, Bastian. And then there's a question about looking into sensory technology for sensory substitution, and they mentioned another name of a company there, Neosensory. Is that something you're familiar with? Do you want to respond to that?
Yeah, the answer is yes, generally speaking, but those are part of the middle to long term hope. So basically, as a company, we need to finalize a certain number of like market-ready product, we need to make our technology and our fundamental blocks of technology solid enough. And by developing product, we're making our technology better. And as we have all this technology being better, then we can start applying it to other things, such as, sensor substitution is one thing, and using vibration and heat and electrical stimulation as a way to give more information to people who have any sort of disability. So not immediately, but again, on the kind of long-term roadmap.
Okay, thank you for that. And then there's a question, this may be a bit more towards Hannah, but are there any safety concerns or marketing challenges by having electronics so close to the body? I mean, we've all have heard scary stories about some phones being dangerous when overheated in our pockets and things like that. So both of you.
Yeah, we could definitely talk to that. As Bastian pointed out, you want to get your ISO 13485 is for medical device manufacturing quality. But beyond that, if you are to be regulated by Health Canada or the FDA or any of those regulatory bodies, as a medical device manufacturer, you are very clearly limited in terms of the claims that you can make, and the warnings you have to give people in order to make sure that this is a responsible way to bring a product to market. So the short answer is yes, obviously those are huge concerns, right? In terms of the pod that Bastian has showed you, I won't go into the specifics of the technical stuff right now, but suffice it to say, like the levels that we're talking about are well within the limits of what is the regulatory bodies deem to be safe, right? And they're going to be conservative of that as well because they're the regulatory body. So in that sense, we are. I would say we are trying to be well within the limits because, adoption of these technologies is not going to happen unless you can build that trust, right? So from a marketing perspective and a perception control perspective, in my job, really, a lot of it is being able to show and prove that you've done the testing, that this is, that you've crossed all the T's and dotted all the I's to make sure that you're bringing something out there that's safe and responsible for everybody. And that not only goes for electrical EM radiation, but also data privacy, obviously, which is a huge hot button issue for a lot of people. We are dealing, if you think your Facebook and your Insta activity is important, wait until it's your biometric data, like how your heart is doing, how your body's doing, that kind of stuff. And there's probably, I don't think that there's not much more personal than that. So obviously, there's a whole part of it that, Bastian, I don't think he's even touched upon, which is HIPAA compliance and, all the other, for any kind of medical data, there's tons of regulations as, if you're doing the MedTech talent accelerator, you ought to know, there's a lot of information there that needs to be protected in the right way. And obviously, we are compliant with that. So lots of things to worry about as a company. But that's why it does require, a lot of discipline, as Bastian noted. We have regulatory people on our team, and their whole job is to make sure that we don't run afoul of all those rules. And it's difficult. It sometimes feels challenging and slow, but it's 100% there to protect not just the company, but to protect the public as well. So an important part of the equation here.
Thank you for that. And then there's a question about investigational testing authorization. Do you know what that is? And if you could speak a bit to that.
Yeah, so any research that is being done with human participants is typically covered by a research ethics board or an investigational review board when it's in the US. So basically, we always have to comply to the regulation of whichever body it is. Each hospital or clinic can have slightly different assessment, but generally speaking, yes, we follow the whole process of consent and information and things like that. ITA, we have one in the work with Health Canada for one of our early prototype. And yeah, so basically it all depends on the type of device, the type of metrics, and in particular, the type of population it's going to be tested on. So yeah, so it's kind of, it's on a case-by-case basis based on yeah, what we're trying to do.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for that, Bastian. So with that, we just have a couple of minutes left. So again, any other questions you have? Again, I also encourage students, if you'd like to ask the question yourself, please, you can raise your hand and you can ask your question directly, and we're happy to have that. If not, please feel free to put your questions in the chat. Otherwise, just maybe you could just speak to, just in the industry in Canada. You're a Canada-based company, and you're growing, and you kind of moved from a startup to, I think like a fabulous growth phase that you're in right now. So just speaking about, the MedTech industry in Canada, if you could share some insights, where is it headed? How are you seeing this in the next year or two, or kind of beyond? Like, what's your experience like in this industry in Canada?
Hannah, do you want to take that?
Sure. I think that, particularly in the biotech space, and there's a lot of work, a lot of companies out there I would say in the Toronto area or in Canada in general. And it depends, a lot of it depends on exactly, where you work within the industry. There's a lot of startups that obviously are founded by, people coming out of their graduate degrees with ideas and, based on work that they've done. But, depending on where, like what level you want to work at or what specific role, I do think that you need to be open to where the possibilities are if you're very specific about what you want to do, right? But generally speaking, because a lot of biotech specifically is very interdisciplinary, and medical devices really, like for example, ours, like there's a lot of intersection of all those different types of expertise. So if you are a data scientist, we have data scientists on staff here, right? They may not have thought of MedTech as the place that they would end up, but certainly there's a need for them here, right? So in that sense, I think that a lot of those opportunities may not be super obvious to people when they're going through their education or they're doing their graduate work, where their efforts might be applicable. But it takes a little bit of investigation to see what exactly companies locally are working on, and then really trying to, I don't like to use the word again, network, but talk to people, understand what the problems they are trying to solve, what kind of expertise they need. And, I would say for a lot of startups, when someone says, hey, I have this knowledge, I can help, there's a lot of people who are open to, getting help. So it starts with putting yourself out there a little bit and asking and just kind of being open to possibilities.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that, Hannah. So with that, we're at 1 o'clock. So I just want to kind of close the session by really thanking Bastian and Hannah. This has been a fabulous session. Really appreciate you bringing us behind the front office and showing us your manufacturing floor and your facilities as well. And thank you for sharing these insights with the MedTech Talent Accelerator and our participants. And again, really appreciate it and look forward to continuing to build this partnership between Myant and our program.
No, thank you so much. And yeah, that was a pleasure talking to you and answering your audience